I'm Elizabeth Farwell Moreland. I'm the producing director here at Seattle Repertory Theater. About a year ago, the artistic team in New York of Here Lies Love, including Alex Timbers and David Byrne, the director and the composer, got in touch with a couple of theaters and were really interested in figuring out a way to bring Here Lies Love out into the regional theaters. The first thing we thought about is, are there other venues in Seattle that we could take it to? But the exciting thing about Here Lies Love was the idea of doing it at Seattle Rep. So we started brainstorming and figuring out a way to create a structure that could hold the audience members, and it would mean leveling out our stage, covering our seats, creating sort of a dance floor, and then putting this big structure with seating towers and all of the platforms and all of the projection screens that the show needed into Seattle Repertory Theater. When they did it in New York, even though they had a different kind of space, they had to involve architects and engineers and make sure that if you're changing the dynamic of your space and changing the way the audience interfaces with the space, you have to have city involvement, you have to make sure that you have all the proper exits and entrances and the proper fire codes. It's been pretty much a year-long process of figuring out how to create a whole different room in the Bagley Wright Theater.
My name's Steve Coulter. I am the project coordinator for the house build-out on Here Lies Love. What that really means is that I've been pulling together all the elements that make the discotheque inside the Bagley Wright Theater. We have completely transformed the room to be a new space. We talked about it the other day as a nesting doll, the Seattle Repertory Theater as the biggest of them, and the Bagley Wright sits inside that, and then we've put yet another space inside that to make this jewel that you're gonna watch Here Lies Love. Last December, I started to sift through about 100 pages of architects and engineers' drawings to figure out how we would job out each section of it. We are building a mezzanine in the theater that can withstand an earthquake and is built to Seattle Building Code for a permanent structure. I've gone to a number of shops here in Seattle, 2 shops in Calgary, and 1 shop in Tennessee. You usually have a proscenium where we're looking through a little window. Hopefully a whole bunch of new people who haven't been in this theater come to see this show, and they will see a space that they think is just what the show is. You know, this is what the Bagley always looks like. So to let those people know that this is a world that has been created from the minute you walk in the door, you are in Here Lies Love. And for the people who come again and again and have been season subscribers for a year or for 30 years, I want them to be shocked at what they see when they walk in that door.
We bring it all into the theater. Each one of the towers is 9,000 pounds, and we have to lift it with chain motors. So we get the structure loaded in, then we start loading the scenery in. Meanwhile, the actors are in another room rehearsing. We have about 4 days on stage with the actors before we start adding all the technical elements. The amazing thing is that because of the way the show works, we're still sort of missing that one final thing. And we have all of these people running around, and all of these lights, all of this sound, but we have to have the audience. Because the show takes place with the audience within the show, we have all of these people standing on the floor, and as they're standing on the floor, scenery is moving, and they have to move with the scenery as they're watching the show. So really, we're not done with the show until we add that first audience and that first performance. That, to me, is the most exciting thing, is that we do all of this work, and we get to that first night with the audience, and it changes everything, and then that's when the work really starts.